Good evening. I would like to call this regular meeting of the Muscle Shoals School Board of Education to order. Would everyone please for the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Woolfolk will do the roll call. Present.
Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Thank you. Dr. Holden, we have a quorum.
All right, I recommend approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting as presented.
All right, thank you, Board. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So move.
Thank you, Mrs. Allman. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. King. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the agenda has been approved.
I was a little worried about that one.
I
I
know,
thought, if
sorry.
we don't approve the agenda, we can't go any farther, guys. All right, next item on the agenda are the minutes from the August 29th regular meeting, and I recommend approval as presented.
Board, the superintendent has recommended approval of the board meeting minutes as presented. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. We have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, motion carries.
All right, I have no correspondence to communicate tonight, so we are ready now, Dr. Davis, to move to item F.
The next item on our agenda is budget hearing 2. At our last meeting, August the 29th, Mrs. Langley presented to the board our first hearing. During tonight's hearing, Mrs. Langley will respond to any questions or comments that she may have received from the public since our last meeting. At this time, I would like to recognize Mrs. Langley for our second presentation on our board.
Thank
On
you,
the
Madam
budget,
President.
sorry.
Tonight is the second budget hearing and our final budget hearing for the 2024 fiscal year budget. I turned it off. My bad. Again, the purpose of our budget hearing is to communicate our financial information to the general public and to solicit any input for the budget process. It's designed to be a tool to provide an overall plan for our financial resources. This fiscal year budget covers October the 1st of 2023 through September the 30th of 2024. During the budget preparation, we do look at our mission statement to make sure that we are doing the best with our finances that will meet the needs of our students and our staff. And just like last time, I have to thank everybody that helped, because without them, it wouldn't be possible. So Dr. Holden, Ms. Nichols, Dr. Connor, Dr. Templeton, and I know I will forget somebody because I did last time and I forgot Todd. So the ladies in my office and, everybody down to the school bookkeepers help prepare this budget. So without them, it wouldn't be here. So thank you. So in your packet, this is just a list of items that is available to you. You have the glossary terms, the fiscal year, and the budget is due to the State Department on September the 15th. We do cover the state, federal, and local revenues. And in your packet is also the P exhibits that will detail each of the funding sources. And your B exhibit is a summary of those revenues and expenditures. You also have the salary schedule that you approved back in June. And at the very end is the response for review for the public to fill out if they have any questions or concerns about the budget. The general information, we have 336.25 employees. Of those is 230 that are certified staff with 16 years of experience, and 81% of them hold a master's or higher. This is a comparison of our personnel, our certified personnel. And the most important number on this screen to me to communicate to you is that we are locally funding from the board money 21 units. Our total revenues went up just a little bit from the original budget from the first hearing, so it's now at $41.4 million. Of that, the state makes up 53%, local 33%, and federal makes up 11%. This is just a screenshot of the P1 exhibit that I was telling you about that tells you the different funding sources from the state, the federal, and also your local. And I covered this in detail last budget hearing, but I do want to let you know that with the ESSER 3 money, that has to be exhausted by 2024. And currently, our carryover is approximately $1.1 million that we're carrying over into fiscal year '24, and we'll have to exhaust by the end of the year. The other funds, the other ESSER and ARPA monies, we're finishing those up this month, September 30th. Your total expenditures also went up from the first hearing, and you're close to $45 million. And the reason for some of this increase is there were some grants that came through that I did not have in the first hearing. There are some carryovers that I know we're going to have for fiscal year '24. I went ahead and budgeted those. For example, we have the Advancement in Technology Plus money. That's about $1.5 million that I budgeted there. You also have the ESSER 3 money that I just mentioned, the $1.1 million, that is included in that as well. In our budget, the general fund expenditures that I do like to point out, because that's the money that you have the most control over. It's where we pay our salaries and benefits. So I want you to see that where the expenditures lie. So your instructional services are at 59%. Instructional support, 16%. I know Dr. Rudolph questioned last time, why is that so low? Well, this is just the people that we're paying out of the general fund. It doesn't include who we're paying out of IDEA, special ed, or even the ESSER 3 monies. So the general fund personnel cost is about 82% of the general fund budget of salary and benefits. I'm sorry, salaries and benefits are 82%. It did go down a little bit from last year. It was 85%. That's mainly because of some funds, the grant monies that we received that we can't use for salaries and benefits. For example, the Advancement in Technology Plus money. That can only be used for capital improvements, purchasing a bus, deferred maintenance, that kind of thing. So no salaries and benefits can come out of that. Information that I did not provide last budget hearing, because I like to make sure I get all the numbers in before I give you a estimated amount of per pupil expenditures. So for all of our resources, it's about $13,000 that we spend per pupil. And it's broken out by local, state, and federal. You see we don't have any rankings in some of those columns, and that's because the state has not put out those snapshots for those fiscal years. I think the last fiscal year I received was 2020. And I did cover debt last budget hearing, but I did fail to mention one. We actually have 4 resources of debt, and that is the 2020 bond that I did cover, the 2023, which is our most recent, and how I forgot to cover $5 million. I apologize. So the principal balance that was issued was almost $5.2 million, and we're paying interest only in fiscal year 2024. We'll start paying on the principal in 2026. The maturity date is June 1st of 2042, and the interest rate is 3%, and will go up to 4.1 by maturity.
In her defense, the $5 million was in the budget.
It was in the budget.
She just
I
failed to mention it in her
mention
presentation.
Yes. So I apologize. And I did cover the QSAB and the First Metro loan. So in summary, the carryover that I did budget that I know for certain that we will have is about $4.4 million. Total revenues that I'm expecting for us to receive is the $41.4 million. Expenditures at almost $45 million. Your general fund salary and benefits are 82%. I'm estimating a fund balance, and this is strictly based off of our August financials, of $10 million with an operating cost, 1 month operating cost of $2.7 million, giving us about 3.2 months projected to end 2024. And I have to disclose that we have annual audits with an independent CPA firm. I do provide monthly financial statements to the board for them to approve, along with the check registers. Those can be found on our website. And the annual accountability reports are usually released in December of each year. And those are also posted on our website. The final exhibit form that I mentioned earlier is your B1 exhibit. That gives you a summary of all the revenues and expenditures. And that's all I have to present to you tonight. Are there any questions?
Did you have any, I'm sorry?
No.
Did you have any comments or questions from the public over the last 2
No
weeks?
public responses.
We just thank you, Mrs. Langley, for all of your hard work and your team's hard work on the budget hearing. And so if there are no other questions or no questions from the audience, then this is part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And those of you in the audience, if you haven't already, there's a sign-in sheet back there. Make sure you sign in that you were present for the budget hearing tonight. All right, moving right along to our business action items. Under the consent agenda tonight, the board has been furnished with background material on each item, or as discussed the item at a previous meeting. Consent agenda items will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wishes to discuss any item, it will be pulled from the consent agenda and voted on separately. Under the consent agenda tonight, we have the financial documents from Ms. Langley for August. The August bank statements have been reconciled. You have the August bills and accounts. You have the FY24 five-year capital plan that Mr. Pearson came during the work session tonight to present information to you all on, and you've had an opportunity to ask questions about that already. Also, you have a bid tonight that I'm recommending accepting for the high school auditorium's rooftop unit replacement. And then also, Ms. Langley has recommended, and I'm recommending to you, approving the substitute services request for proposal that's in your packet. So does any board member wish to pull any of those items out and vote on them separately? Hearing none, Dr. Davis, I recommend approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Holder. Board of Superintendents has recommended approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Almond. We have a motion, second. Call to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is the FY24 budget. We've now had 2 hearings on that, and Ms. Langley has done a great job with it, as well as all the folks that she thanked. And so I recommend approval of the FY24 budget as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Holden. Do we have a motion to approve the FY24 budget as presented?
Madam President, I will make the motion.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Dr.
sorry,
Rudolph. We have a
Mr.
motion.
King.
Oh, sorry. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. King. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Item C, under policy revisions and additions. At the last meeting, which was only 2 weeks ago, I presented the AASB model policy, which will be policy 7.15 for us on extended learning opportunities. And since it's only been 2 weeks, we have not had ample time to really pour into that and do our due diligence on it. So I'm going to suggest that that you leave this on the table tonight and for further consideration.
Dr. Holden. Board, is there a motion related to the new policy? Hearing none, policy 7.15 will remain on the table for further consideration.
All right, thank you, Madam President. And then item D is the personnel report, and I recommend the personnel report as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Holden. Board Superintendent has recommended approval of the personnel report. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
I'll move to approve the personnel report as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Almond. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the personnel report has been presented.
All right, thank you, Madam President. For the benefit of the audience, the personnel report consists of the following. Under employment, Elizabeth Lambert, paraprofessional aide at Howell Grace Preschool. Under other part-time special appointments, supplemental, beyond the Bell tutoring, you have a host of employees, several from each school actually, that will be performing beyond the Bell tutoring for the 23-24 school year, and this is to be paid from ARPA funds. Also, the 23 Trojan football live stream, we have some additions to that broadcast crew, Tyler Pace and Eli Underwood. Also, under MSCS employees for gate workers for the 23-24 basketball season, you see a list of names there. Basketball assignments also for the 23-24, your PA announcers and clock keepers and concession stand workers who will be assisting during basketball season. Those names are also listed there. Under information only, not for board action, we have 3 employees requesting a medical leave. You see the dates that they expect to be on leave, and of course, those dates are typically flexible with medical needs. And then we have some additions to our Kelly Services staffing from the previous meeting. We had all the Kelly staffing folks that we have that work here every day is in sort of permanent positions. And we did add some names to that. And 3 of those actually are covering a medical leave for a teacher. And so with that, that's all I have. Excuse me. That's coming up next. Yeah, that's not on the personnel report. Yep. Now we're ready for item E. Thank you for catching that, though.
All right. Board AASB Executive Director Sally Smith has notified us that they have approved the following 2 individuals as nominee for District 8 Director. We talked about this at the work session. They are Amy Carter, Coleman City Board of Ed, and then Jimmy Dobbs, Morgan County Board of Education, and he is the current District 8 Director. So the nominee who receives 3 or more votes of the board will be the Muscle Shoals selection for District 8 Director. I will present the names to AASB after tonight's vote. We will have to have a roll call vote, so when I call your name, please respond with which nominee you wish to be our next District 8 Director. And again, that's Amy Carter from Coleman City, and then Jimmy Dobbs, Morgan County. Almond,
Jimmy Dobbs.
Mr. King,
Jimmy Dobbs.
Dr. Woodall,
Jimmy Dobbs.
Mr. Wood,
Jimmy Dobbs.
and then the chair votes for Jimmy Dobbs. So Mr. Jimmy Dobbs received all votes, and that'll be our vote for our school system.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. The last thing I have is just a brief superintendent's report. Just a couple of congratulations. First of all, Howell Grace Preschool Principal Shanetta Smith, congratulate her on being selected to serve as Director of the Alabama Association of Elementary School Administrators that's a class affiliate for the 23-24 school year. So congratulations to you, Shanetta. Also, we received word this past week that one of our 9th graders, Amelia Galapali, I think that's how you say her name. Maybe I didn't murder that too badly. But last year, she was a part of the science fair at the middle school, and she's been named one of the top 300 junior innovators in the 23 Thermo Fisher Scientific Junior Innovators Challenge. That was a lot. It's a National Society for Sciences national competition, and she's one of the top 300 out of over 1,800 entrants from across the country. So we are super proud of her, and we're going to be putting that information out more publicly in the next few days, but we do want to congratulate her. Do want to invite the board and the public to attend the grand reopening of the middle school planetarium. That's September the 19th from 6 to 8. There will be a ribbon-cutting ceremony at 6 o'clock, and then the planetarium will be open for tours, so hopefully you'll be able to come out for that. I know the middle school is excited about it, anxious, and getting ready for that. Also, just want to thank Ms. Langley again. I know she's relieved after finishing, I guess you could say finishing budget season. This is kind of the culmination of a whole lot of work that starts before the school year even ends last year. I mean, we started working on the budget, she did especially. And so it's just a lot of work, months of it, that goes into presenting a budget for a school system our size. And so I do thank her once again, as well as her staff. And then AASB, just to give you guys one more nod, recognized our board at last week's district meeting in Decatur. Mr. Wood, Dr. Davis, and I were able to attend that meeting, and AASB recognized this board as one of 7 from District 8 that achieved the Team Achievement Award. And so congratulations to you, and I appreciate all of you for being so committed to professional learning as a board member. So with that, Dr. Davis, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Holden. This concludes our agenda. If there are no further discussions, this meeting is adjourned.